While many people like to argue that 2019 was a mediocre year for video games, that definitely wasn't the case for the first couple of months of the year. By this time last year, we had Slay the Spire, Resident Evil 2, Kingdom Hearts 3, Wargroove, Apex Legends, Tetris 99, Metro Exodus and many others. Compared to that, 2020 has been relatively slow so far. Just a few days ago, the first game that even remotely piqued my interest came out. We will come back to this in just a second. So even though we didn't really have many quality releases so far, things are finally starting to pick up steam. With this being said, I would like to look ahead and go over the list of games that I am most excited about in the rest of 2020. The game I alluded to earlier is Bloodroots, an indie game by Paper Cult that came out on February 28th for the Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, Xbox One and PC. I've been hearing a lot of good buzz about this game. It has a very unique art style and the one-hit kill mechanic really reminds me a lot of a few games that I really enjoyed last year, such as Ape Out, Katana Zero and My Friend Pedro, but also of older games such as Hotline Miami. At the time of recording this video, I have only played this game for about 10 minutes or so, but so far it has been really fun, and if you're into this type of games, this is one you might want to keep your eye on. I might upload a quick review for this game as well somewhere next week, so if you're interested, please check back around that time. Then up next, we got Ori and the Will of the Wisps on the 11th of March for Xbox and PC. This is the sequel to 2015's Ori and the Blind Forest. It is a 2D Metroidvania game with a beautiful art style and very fluid movement. The original is actually one of my favorite games of the last couple of years, so I am tremendously excited about this upcoming release. From what we have seen so far, it looks to improve upon the first game in almost every single way. However, even if it was just more Ori, I would be satisfied because Ori is great and I can't wait to play more of it. Only 2 days later, on March 13th, Nioh 2 releases on the PlayStation 4 exclusively. Nioh is created by Team Ninja, who previously worked on the famous Ninja Gaiden series, and it's pretty much just Samurai Dark Souls, before, we got that other Samurai Dark Souls. Being a big fan of the From Software games, I decided to give the first Nioh a try, and ended up beating the game and enjoying it quite a bit. However, I still believe that the combat system in the From Software games is stronger overall, and I also felt like the Metroidvania-like world structure that the From Software games follow lends itself better to these kind of games than the level-based structure that Nioh has. To be perfectly honest with you, I'm probably going to skip this one, because I personally cannot play too many of these type of games in short succession. It looks pretty good though, so if you are into these kind of games, be sure to give it a try. Not a new game, there's another piece of gaming content coming out on the 13th of March that I just have to talk about. I know it is an unpopular opinion on the internet, but I love Destiny. I haven't played it that much over the last 2 years though, and the biggest reason for this was the absence of my favorite game mode, Trials of Osiris. Well, it's finally coming back, and I am stoked. For you who aren't familiar, it is a highly competitive 3v3 PvP game mode in which you only have 1 life per round and the first team to 5 rounds wins the game. The goal is to win 7 games in a row, which will grant you access to a special location in the game where you can only go if you have fulfilled this requirement. It's nothing like the adrenaline rush you get when you are at 6 wins and you're facing another team on your 7th game that is also at 6 wins. It's extremely sweaty and it's very satisfying. All hell breaks loose on March 20th when Doom Eternal launches on PlayStation 4, Xbox One and Microsoft Windows. The follow-up to the Doom reboot from 2016 seems to dial up the gore factor even further and adds platforming sections to the gameplay loop. This game is not about story at all. It is about fast, frantic and fun first-person shooter gameplay and collecting items and upgrades hidden around the map. I personally really liked 2016's Doom. Its gameplay in some ways reminded me of the original Halo games, which are some of my favorite games of all time. If Doom Eternal lives up to the standard the previous game set, it's going to be an amazing experience. The next game is an interesting one. Half-Life Alyx is a PC exclusive VR game that plays best on the Valve Index, which costs around €1,000 or American dollars. While I still haven't played Half-Life 2, yes I know, I really need to play it, and I don't own my very own VR unit, I'm very curious about this game, because as far as I know, this is pretty much the first full-on VR game released in a AAA game franchise. So while I most likely won't play this game anytime soon, I'm interested in seeing how this game performs because it might single-handedly increase the popularity of VR overall and help establish it as a key pillar of gaming in the future. The very next day, on March 24th, Ninja Theory brings us their next game called Bleeding Edge. Ninja Theory is mostly known for their 2 most recent games, the 2013 reboot of Devil May Cry and Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice. Contrary to popular opinion, I actually really like their Devil May Cry game. Yes, the main character is a little lame when compared to the original Dante, but it has a unique art style, great combat, amazing music, interesting boss fights and a decent story. Hellblade I was a little less warm to, however it was at the very least a very unique experience which I can only applaud in today's gaming landscape. So Bleeding Edge is actually a very different game from their previous releases. While DMC and Hellblade are single-player narrative-driven games, Bleeding Edge is an online multiplayer game with melee combat. You can probably best view it as a mix of Overwatch and Ninja Theory's melee-focused combat design. I'm actually going to give this one a try, since I like both Ninja Theory and Overwatch, and it is also free on Xbox Game Pass. Resident Evil is a gaming franchise that has been around for nearly 24 years now. It has 7 numbered games and a lot of spin-offs and remakes. Until early last year, I had only finished Resident Evil 5 and Resident Evil Revelations. Resident Evil 5 was relatively fun in co-op and Revelations was a decent 3DS game, but they definitely didn't blow me away. I had also briefly tried Resident Evil 4, but I unfortunately could not deal with the tank controls, so I quickly gave up on that. My opinion of the series changed dramatically with last year's Resident Evil 2 remake, which in my opinion was deservedly nominated for the Game Awards 2019 Game of the Year. Coming from someone who does not really like scary games, this game hits the perfect balance of being incredibly tense but not too frightening. Furthermore, it is really fun to explore the police station and the controls are a huge improvement upon the previous third-person games. Coming only a little more than a year after the remake of 2, Resident Evil 3 Remake seems to be very similar with a slightly bigger emphasis on combat. If this game comes even remotely close to 2 Remake in terms of quality, this is going to be another Game of the Year contender for me.
Why is she here? She's unreliable.
It's me he's after. I'll buy you some time.
Hey, wait! Wait, Jill!
These sewer rats appear to call themselves Avalanche, sir.
For years now, I have wanted to play a game in the Final Fantasy series. They definitely look like games I would enjoy with my love for anime and turn-based combat. However, between me not having a PlayStation console as a kid, Final Fantasy XIII being mediocre at best, Final Fantasy XIV being an MMO, and Final Fantasy XV being unfinished at release, I still haven't done so yet. With Final Fantasy VII Remake coming out on PlayStation 4 on April 10th, I feel like it is finally going to happen. Final Fantasy VII is widely viewed as one of the best, if not the best game in the franchise, and I can't wait to finally dive into one of these games.
My turn.
They came for us. They invaded every part of our world. So, we did the only thing we could. We set the world on fire.
Then, on the 28th of April, Gears Tactics releases on Microsoft Windows. Rod Ferguson, former head of the studio behind the Gears of War franchise, has already confirmed that it is also coming to Xbox One. However, at the time of recording this video, it is unclear what the release date for the Xbox One will be. Gears Tactics is relatively similar to the modern XCOM games in terms of gameplay and takes place in the Gears of War universe. These are turn-based strategy games where you move your soldiers one by one and fight aliens. The best thing about these games is that you create your own characters, which you bring over from mission to mission, getting more and more attached to them. This makes it extra heartbreaking when they permanently die after getting defeated on the battlefield. I'm not sure whether or not you can create your own characters in Gears Tactics or if permadeath is a thing, but as someone who really likes both the Gears of War series and the modern XCOM games, this game seems right up my alley either way.
Look who decided to join us. All right. You all know the drill.
What can I even say about The Last of Us Part 2? Naughty Dog might be the best video game developer in the world. I love the Uncharted franchise, and the original Last of Us game might be the best game I have ever played. It had an amazing story and even made me cry a couple of times. I don't think there has been a game in recent memory that I've been more excited about than this one. I guess all I can say is if you are only gonna play one game this year, make sure that it is The Last of Us Part 2. I would recommend playing the original first though, since Part 2 is a direct continuation of the story.
You can't stop this.
Now that is an entrance.
A little more than 2 months later, on the 4th of September, we will get Crystal Dynamics' Avengers game. These are the people who previously worked on the first 2 games in the rebooted Tomb Raider series. I have to be honest with you, the gameplay they have shown so far doesn't look that great. However, I did enjoy their previous 2 games and I like the Avenger movies quite a bit. Furthermore, this game is in some ways supposed to be similar to Destiny, which I told you earlier is one of my favorite games. So even though I am a little worried about this one, I try to be cautiously optimistic and will most likely give it a try.
Good isn't a thing you are. It's a thing you do.
Hey V, you alright?
Let's do this.
If you already thought it was shocking that I have not played Half-Life 2, you're in for an even bigger surprise. I have actually never played The Witcher 3. This game is at the very top of my backlog and I will make sure that I finish it before CD Projekt Red's next game, Cyberpunk 2077, comes out on September 17. Cyberpunk is a first-person RPG in a huge futuristic open-world setting. While I personally don't have a good frame of reference since I didn't play any of CD Projekt Red's previous games, I have to admit that this game looks stunning and seems extremely ambitious. I hope nobody announces any big games shortly after Cyberpunk, because I am probably going to be busy with this one for quite a while. Those were all the games that I'm looking forward to with a set release date in 2020. There are a few other games, however, that I am very excited about that are either confirmed to come out this year but don't have a set release date yet, or are heavily rumored to release within 2020. I would like to briefly mention a few of them, and I will most likely make a follow-up to this video with more information about these games once most or all of them have a confirmed release date. First off, we have Ghost of Tsushima, an open-world third-person samurai game by Sucker Punch, which is set to arrive this summer exclusively on PlayStation 4. Second, we have Halo Infinite, which is supposed to release this fall on the same day as the new Xbox Series X. It will also release on Xbox One and Microsoft Windows, however. Next, we got Outriders, a third-person looter shooter by People Can Fly, which is also supposed to come out this fall. Then we have Hollow Knight Silksong, the follow-up to the original Hollow Knight by Team Cherry. This game currently doesn't even have a release window yet, but I am pretty confident that it is going to come out somewhere this year. And finally, there's the rumored next installment in the Assassin's Creed franchise. This game hasn't even been announced yet, but all signs point to a Viking-themed Assassin's Creed game, most likely named Ragnarok, releasing somewhere this fall. So those were all the games that I am excited about in the rest of 2020. Which games are you most excited about? Are there any other games I should have my eye on? Please let me know in the comments. If you want to see more of these type of videos, please subscribe, and I will see you next time.